Welcome to this webinar. I'm waiting for my co-presenter. Oh, there she is. Hi, Gina.
Hi, how are you?
Well, doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's around 11 a.m. here in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's 9:30 in India right now in the evening.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks everybody for being on if you're in India this late.
Yeah, I think we've got a few folks who joined, and probably we'll expect more on the way. But now that it's time, we can actually get started. So, can everybody see? Gina, are you able to see the presentation?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool. So we'll actually get started. Really excited to run this webinar along with you, Gina. And
Yeah.
this is what we have got today for you. We are first going to introduce ourselves, and then we'll run through a quick presentation that will talk about gamification, what it is, what it is not, and we'll look at what kind of companies around the world from different verticals are using gamification big time. And then we'll look at some use cases because everything is in applying what we learned. So we're going to look at the use cases as applied to boosting usage of digital products, as well as making sure that your marketing campaigns are going to succeed. And finally, we will spend about a minute talking about Upshot.ai, who are the sponsors of this webinar. And this platform helps you to do the plug and play kind of gamification effortlessly with minimal management overhead. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session. So with that, my name is Krishna Chaitanya. I also go by KC, and I head the customer success here at Upshot.ai, and I have Gina. Gina, please, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Gina Terranova, the digital marketing manager here at Panini America. Been with Panini about 4 years, but I've been in the digital marketing industry for approximately 15. I really focus a lot on e-commerce conversions and online campaigns. So I'm excited to talk about the gamifications that we've been using Upshot for to help keep our users engaged. Just real quick on Panini America, we're part of the Panini Group, which is a global sports memorabilia company. We're headquartered in Modena, Italy, but our America's headquarter is in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, which is where I'm currently located. We're the largest sports trading card manufacturer in the world. Trading cards are really popular here in the U.S., and the sticker albums are really popular globally, but trading cards are starting to really become a huge industry in Europe and some other countries. So that's just a little background on me and Panini America.
Okay, thank you, Gina.
Yeah.
Thank you for making it to this webinar. It's really nice to have you here, and I
Thank
hope to make full use of your presence here by getting you to talk about what kind of things you have been doing for Panini America and how especially you have been leveraging gamification.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to help, discuss the gamifications and how Upshot AI has really helped in keep our engagement of our app users, and just some of the things we've learned, and how we're going forward.
Okay, awesome. So we will now jump into the meat of this discussion, but I wanted everybody to actually think about what success really is in the context of a digital product or a marketing campaign, because we all want success in our roles as product owners or as marketing managers. And it means different things based on whether we are a product person, in which case, suppose we are trying to make a mobile app successful or a web-based SaaS product successful. For us as product owners, success means our users adopting the features that we build for them, and try them out. Um, as many people as possible try them out, and if we have a certain expected frequency with which we expect our users to use those features, if they're doing that, that is success for us as a product owner. And coming to a marketing manager's perspective, success is all about customers participating in the campaigns that we run, not just participating, but actually by responding, by clicking on our CTAs, by spending money, by consuming content, whatever it is that we do in our respective products. So that's success for a marketing campaign. So if you look at this, the definition of success, there is something underlying. There is a pattern that's underlying both these definitions, and that's what we touch upon because it's got a lot to do with the why and the wherefore of gamification. So the idea is that success depends on user or customer behavior, and only when our users or our customers engage in behaviors that are profitable for us as product owners or as marketers, that's when our success is achieved. So everything depends upon user behavior or customer behavior. So that actually raises a couple of really interesting questions. What makes a person want to do anything? Because our user or a customer is a person, and they should want to do what we hope that they should do for us. And especially they should do that willingly, because nobody is going to do anything by force. So the question really comes down to how we can do things that enable or that increase the likelihood of users or customers doing something to us willingly. And that is really where gamification comes in. So if these are your challenges, then you will get a lot out of this webinar. If if your products are suffering from low user retention as measured by day 1 or day 3 metrics, or if you are serving content in your app and people are not consuming the content, or there is not enough conversions and revenues, and there is a high churn, then you are essentially looking at people not doing the kind of things that you would want them to do. So you are concerned about user behavior, and that is why this webinar really matters to you. So with that, we will come to gamification, and first we'll talk about what it is. And it's the application of ideas that are actually borrowed from the world of gaming. So we call them game design elements and game design principles. How we borrow them out of the world of gaming and apply to what we call a non-game context, or some people also call that as serious or a business context. So that's essentially what gamification is. And why do we do that? Is because we want to engage people and we want to motivate them to display a desired behavior. So it's all about behavior, as I'm saying, and gamification is all about how to motivate people to show that behavior. And I came across this awesome way to put it. So I just copied it here, and the person who said it said, gamification is all about turning the mundane into the fun day. I thought that's an excellent way of putting it. Taking something already valuable, your product or your app, it's already valuable, it's already got a great value proposition to its users or customers. That's the hard work we've done to put it out there in the world and get people to download it. Now, the next part is how to make it fun and motivating and exciting for people to start using it and show the kind of behaviors. So that's why we've got to keep in mind that gamification is the icing on the cake and not the cake itself. So with that, we also come to what gamification is not, because this kind of understanding helps us to round up our knowledge of gamification. So first of all, it's not a pure game that's kind of disconnected from the underlying product or campaign. We in this industry, we've been here for the last 8 years, and we've seen some companies try to just slap a game onto their product without any conceptual relevance or connection. And so people are confused. They really cannot understand if it's just a game that they have to play, or they can't even understand why this game is now showing up inside this app. So if if somebody wants to think of gamification, let them be clear that it's not a game that's slapped onto the product. Also, second most important point is it's not a replacement for a genuine value proposition. Again, this is an important point to be called out and understood and appreciated. We can take shortcuts. We still have to build great products. Our marketing campaigns still have to be exciting and giving something of value to the users. So there's no going away from that. But the whole point of gamification is you take something valuable and make it fun and exciting. So it's not a replacement for a value proposition. And lastly, it's not something that we try once and if it doesn't work, don't bother anymore with that. Like any good thing, it takes an iterative approach. It may take multiple trials before you figure out what kind of gamification strategies work best for your business. Right. And so now we come to the kind of companies that have been using gamification in a really big way. Now there are hundreds of companies out there. So I've kind of chosen the really visible ones. Some of these icons are global. Amazon, Alibaba is big in China. They use gamification extremely heavily for their World Singles Day. And if I'm not mistaken, within a single day, they are able to generate sales of upwards of $40 billion. And at the heart of their strategy is gamification. You've got fitness apps like Nike Training Center, Strava, heavily used by people into running. Then Cred is a payments app from India. It's an extremely popular app where people get reminders not to miss paying their credit card bills. Then Google Pay uses scratch cards. I think all of us who've used Google Pay, at least in India, we've come across every time we make a payment, at least it used to be earlier, but every payment would use a scratch card, and then we would be excited to find out what's behind it. So these are all some of the most amazing and really successful apps. Duolingo is the language learning app. It's a phenomenon today in the world for people who want to learn foreign languages. Amway has created a learning app for their sales force, who are called Amway business owners. And so it's a content consumption app where people are supposed to learn useful information about products and then go out into the world and sell them. And Facebook and LinkedIn, of course, they're part of everybody's lives, and they also use gamification heavily. So this is a clear signal that gamification is not something that's past its prime, or it's not something that's a non-serious thing. Major companies in the world are doing it. Now, this might raise a question: how exactly does gamification work? What makes it work? What's the underlying idea or the concept which makes it so powerful? So the way it works is it taps into the kind of things that motivate people, which are called levers. You can think of them as factors influencing motivation. You can think of them as levers. Pick your word, but the idea is that human motivation is not accidental. It's connected to a certain type of concepts. Like, for example, we all try to avoid a loss, and we often go to great lengths to avoid loss. When things are unpredictable, we tend to hoard. When a resource is precious or when it's scarce, then there is a lot of competition for it. So you can actually see probably these things already make sense to you because you can actually see them in action in your own life. If you think about it, people want to show their creativity. People want to have a social influence. People want to have a feeling of ownership. They would love to achieve things. They would love to contribute to a higher cause. They want to make progress. They want to compete and win. They love feedback, and they love to satisfy their curiosity. So these are so obvious that we don't even need to talk too much about them. But these kind of help us to understand that these are the underlying factors. So when we try to apply gamification to a product use case or to a marketing use case, if we have this palette of factors in front of us, we can actually sit and try to connect the dots between what we are trying to do as a business person versus these kind of motivational aspects of our target audience. And that's when the campaign or the product has a high chance of success, when we can tap into these kind of psychological elements. Um, so enough talk about gamification. Now it's actually we can look at a pretty powerful use case for a product owner, which is to drive feature discovery and look at how to boost usage of a product. And when I say product, I mean a digital product. So let's keep in mind that we are talking about a mobile app, for example. It's a great example because a lot of people are building apps these days. So depending upon the customer's life cycle, you can plan gamification accordingly. And one of the most popular use cases for gamification is onboarding of first-time users. So it's a great opportunity when people get into your app for the very first time. You want to give them the best treatment possible. You want to create a feeling of rush and excitement so that they understand that being in your app is not boring. Being in your app is fun. It's profitable, and so they are going to come back to your app again and again. Display what we call a pull effect. People are drawn to the app. So let's go through the journey quickly. You take a segment of first-time users, and on the day zero, that is the first time they open the app, you're going to show them a welcome tutorial, which lays out the what's going to happen over the next 7 days. Now, the world of gaming has a name for this. It's called a quest. It's a series of tasks that typically ends in a reward. So the welcome tutorial actually lays out the 7 day quest to the first time users, and they immediately know that something fun is about to take place. And so on the next 3 days, you're going to give them knowledge about the features of the product that you've built, but you're not going to overwhelm them with all that knowledge in one go, which sadly seems to be a common practice. But best practices of learning dictate that you have got to break the knowledge down into bite-sized pieces and give them frequently. So that's why we recommend that you take the feature benefits and you summarize them as flashcards and attach a push notification to that and spread it out on over 3 days. And so people get gradually exposed a feature a day. And on the fourth day, you give them social proof, which is a very powerful motivational factor. You can use things like screen tips, which are essentially a little piece of text that just appears and disappears. It doesn't linger along too long on the app screen. It kind of slides in from one side and slides out the other, but it kind of gets the attention of the app user. And so an example of social proof could be something like 3,000 people have used this particular feature in the last 24 hours. So it satisfies curiosity, it removes doubts, it removes any kind of anxieties, and it motivates the user to actually go ahead and try those features out. And on the fifth day, you're again going to remind them that there are guaranteed rewards to be won if you try out the features. And so on the sixth day, that's when a game is presented to them in the form of a trivia. Now, this is where a trivia is an excellent opportunity to quiz people and find out how much they've learned about your app or the features. At the same time, even if they get something wrong, they get to see the right answer. So it's learning at the same time. It's like a revision at the same time. And so you're going to provide this game, and they are going to get their own grade depending upon how many answers they get right or wrong. And then they unlock a reward, which can be a badge that leads to certain privileges within the app, or if reward points is your kind of thing, then you can give them reward points. And now suddenly there is increased value to the user because now they feel like they want something by their own efforts. So the chances of their discarding the app go down because they have put something of value in the app. And You don't have to end it here. You can take it one step further, and on the seventh day, you can actually ask them to rate the app, rate the feature that they tried, and solicit feedback, which is an awesome thing because now that people have used the feature, it's the best time to take feedback while it is still fresh. Their experience and their feeling about the feature is still fresh in their heads. So that's like an example use case, a whole journey of how product owners can use gamification for onboarding and making sure that people are actually putting the efforts to discover and use features. For marketing, we've got a couple of really interesting use cases, and I would love to have Gina talk you through them. Gina?
Yeah, so when it comes to gamification and user engagement, you definitely always want to look at what data points are important to you and to what defines your user engagement and your conversions. I know ours is how many times, well, we have different ones, but the big number for my company is at least revenue driven, and what the engagement is, and sessions is another big data point. So this is a great example here where you can look at some days where your engagement is not as high, and you can think about what could you do to drive more engagement. You might not have a product launch that day. It might be a weekend, or it might just be slow traffic. So what you could do is you can kind of think about, how can I pull in more engagement and get more users into our app and our website? So it looks like there's, March 7th and the 14th were lower days of the user sessions and active users. So there could be something where you might want to push a flash sale or possibly a trivia. I know trivia works really well within our user engagement. So we'll sometimes have monthly trivia based around what sports we represent. So American football is a really big sport here. So we'll throw in a couple questions around, Tom Brady, or even what are, some facts around our football trading cards. And then because we have such a large user engagement, and a lot of users do win the trivia, we will narrow it down and also have a drawing for 5 random winners. And those winners will receive either a pack of cards or a t-shirt. And so we kind of build around our users, because we know our users love getting product, and our product is so hard to find at this point with the pandemic. We have all of our products in Walmart, Target, and a lot of local hobby shops. But because the demand is so high, it's hard for any users to find our product even on our website, because we sell out so fast. We will give out prizes based around products. So those users who missed out on a sale could possibly have a chance of winning, that product that they try to get their hands on, or a t-shirt. Our users love to just get any type of product. So that's something we award them with. So on those slower days, we like to try and pull in those users who might not have been, all of our users, or the users who might not have been able to purchase in a certain amount of time. And our, a no purchase in 90 days, that could be based on the demand on the web traffic of a sale day. So we like to give them other opportunities to get in and win our product. And that in turn turns out to more engagement and also more of our loyalty to our brand. The next slide that Casey just pulled up is also using those data points in what time of the day may be your best time of, where to get those users engaged. And he's highlighted 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., which is a great time for us at Panini, because our sales normally start at 10 a.m. Central Time. And so you have users who might not have been settled into work at that time, or they're just, getting their kids ready to go to school. And so we'll send push notifications reminding users, hey, trivia starts in an hour. Don't miss out on your chance to win a prize. And then also, throughout the day, people get distracted. That's just, how life is. They've got families, they've got work commitments. So sometimes in the evening, depending on your users and how your data points tell you that data, we found that when families or users are not in front of their computer for work, or that they're home and they've already put their children to bed or already helped them with homework, that might be another good time to push out some of those notifications, because people are stressed at the end of the day or the end of the week. And so they want to have a little bit of that fun time of, feeling important. And that user engagement, it makes them feel valuable and important when we push out, here's your chance to win. You've been a valuable customer of ours. So you definitely want to use those data points to test and figure out when the best time it is to send these gamification notifications and when to launch and test them to your client base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is the journey, Gina, that you were talking about, how to bring back inactive spenders.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go through it?
Absolutely. This is actually something that Upshot and I have been working on recently. Is we've identified a segment of users who have not purchased within the 90 days window. And so we've created two different segments. We created a segment of users that have not purchased in 90 days with a less spend of $100 US, and then the purchasers who have spent more than $100 or equal to it, but haven't returned in the 90 days. Now, our factors could be they couldn't get to the cart fast enough on our website to purchase, or maybe the product was too expensive, or they didn't have time to get into the website. So that's where we'll target those users. We'll build the segment out based on the rules in Upshot that you can create the segments in. And so those users who have not purchased in 90 days with a spend of less than $100, which, you would need to identify how you would value your customer spend there. We will push out a spin wheel with 4 different pieces of chances to win. Now, the users who spent less than $100, they only get the 1 chance. But the users who have spent more than 100 or equal to 100 will get two spins for a higher value of a prize. So the first customer segment of less than $100, we'll send them a spin wheel similar to what you've seen on Amazon or eBay or even Target. You can press the button and it'll spin. And we have 4 pieces. We have a mystery box, which is a physical prize. And then we also have 2 other additional Panini apps that are complete gaming apps, which is our trading card games. So we will award winners with coins and different type of digital packs for installing those apps. So if you have additional apps for your brand and your company, you can cross promote within those gamifications as well. And then we also always have a better luck next time. And even with the better luck next time, we'll also take those users and segment those users out when we realize there's a lower engagement or those users haven't made any type of churn within the app. And we'll send them a specific gamification, trivia or spin wheel just to those users to try and keep them engaged so that they keep coming back into our app. And it's similar with the users of who spend $100 or more, which are more of our, the bucket of the high spenders. So we present them with the same spin wheel, but, they get a second chance to spin if they land on better luck next time, or if they want to try and win an additional prize. And so with the physical product that I talked about, that is the mystery box, those spenders will also get an additional prize within the mystery box that we don't advertise, but it could be a t-shirt. It could be a little starting kit with like our Panini branded box cutters, which is a big thing in our industry, the box cutters. So you want to kind of award those spenders a little higher than what you would award the lower spenders until those lower spenders become a higher spender. So that's what we're currently working on. And we've seen that it works really well. And we've seen many forums of users getting excited about the additional segments that we build out based around their participation in these campaigns. So that's where we get creative. I work with the team up at Upshot and we get real creative and we decide, how we want to target them. We always send push notifications out a day or 2 before saying coming soon, test your luck in a spin wheel, or who's going to win this matchup of an NBA basketball game. That's going to be that's something that we've really pushed in on a lot during NFL, American football, and basketball season or matchup games. And whoever wins, kind of like the actual matchup, like let's say Super Bowl 55, who would win between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Well, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did end up winning. So we take that segment of those users and we also provide 5 of those top winners a prize, which is geared around the Super Bowl. So you kind of want to be creative and look at your user segments. And again, look at those data points that are important to your brand and to what your conversions and your goals are, and come up with some ideas around how to keep those users engaged. Because we talked about the psychology. Everybody wants to win something. And when KC mentioned the scratch off card with making a payment, this is the new scratch off cards, because I remember being a kid and getting scratch off cards by buying something like a soda drink from a gas station, and I'd get a free scratch off card. I'd get so excited for a free candy bar. So this is what the new scratch off cards are turning into, is how you can keep that user coming back by awarding them for their business.
Yeah. And this is a really exciting one where we try to drive repeat purchases by creating a card shuffle game. Mm-hmm. And this is where we make a little twist on the usual card shuffle. What we do is we create a limited pool of discounts, and because it's limited and we tell the customers that they are limited, it's kind of like creating a rush to the app. It's like a first come, first serve, where customers are totally aware that there are not enough discounts to go around for everybody. So they rush to the app and they claim them. So we are using the psychological aspect called scarcity. People know that there isn't enough for discounts for everybody. So they rush and they claim the discounts. But it doesn't stop there. We make it more compelling for these people. Now that they have got the discounts, we also know that experience in the e-commerce industry tells us that not everybody who gets a discount goes ahead and uses it for a purchase. Many times they allow it to lapse beyond its expiry date. So we could play around with setting an expiry date which is very, very short window, maybe just 48 hours or 72 hours, and not give people enough time to dilly-dally. And so that expiry date adds a whole new level of urgency where customers want to not lose them. And so they go ahead and redeem them by making another purchase. And all of this is possible with a single game mechanic, which is called the card shuffle. A game mechanic is just a fancy name for a particular type of engagement that you see in the apps. So the card shuffle allows you to limit, as the creator of the card shuffle, you can get to limit how many coupons of low value do you want to give out. Let's say an example could be you want to give out 100 coupons of 10% off. And as the discounts get higher, you want to restrict the number of coupons that you want to give out. So maybe 50 coupons of 20% off, and only 5 coupons for a really high value, 30% off coupon. Now, what happens is when people start rushing to the app and playing this game, the five coupons of 30% off are going to, based upon luck, they may run out really fast. And then people who are coming later to the app will only get to choose between the 10% off and the 20% off coupons. So it is like this situation where it's grab if you are early, so the early bird takes the prize. So this is also an extremely successful thing. And as I said, you mix scarcity and urgency, and keep reminding them. Once they've won the coupons, you remind them that the coupon is expiring within the next 24 hours or within the next 48 hours. And so you build that extra layer of urgency where they want to go ahead and claim the coupon. So this is another excellent way to use gamifications to drive repeat purchases from people who have already done at least one purchase. And yeah, so now I would like to talk about Upshot, just take a couple of minutes to lay out what kind of value it can bring to you if you're a product owner or if you're a marketing person. Um, Upshot is all about giving you choices. If I had to give you an elevator pitch, that's what it would be: a wide variety of engagement options where you can keep things fresh, you can keep things creative, you don't have to repeat yourself very often. So if you look at analytics and insights, there's an option to look at different types of reports out of the box. We also allow you to create your own reports, define what goes on the x-axis and what goes on the y-axis. You can track people's movement in your app through various funnels, and you also get to use machine learning to predict how many people are going to perform or not perform a certain thing in the app. Um, you can use segments to define your audience in different ways. You can use journeys like what we have seen so far with the product and the marketing use case. You saw like a flowchart kind of an approach. That's what we offer through a journey builder. It's like a canvas where you drag and drop various elements or various nodes into and stitch it into a journey. Um, Onboarding is a strong aspect of the product. We allow you to build tutorials. We allow you to flash screen tips on the app screens. Then the engagement is pretty much standard: push notifications, in-app messages, email, and text or SMS. But gamification is where things really get interesting. We allow you to create opinion polls. We allow you to award badges and, in fact, run a full-fledged badge program from Upshot with very little effort. We allow you to create trivia. We allow you to create mini games and even build your own kind of a game. If you're not happy with, or if you want to try something else, you can actually build your own game using HTML5, and you can import that into Upshot and present it to your users. There's a rewards and loyalty engine which can help you to give out points based upon people's behavior inside the application. And you can also do voice of customer, or you can research your user base by asking them to fill out surveys, really short and sweet surveys, and also get them to rate on features. Um, and these are a couple of visuals just to give you an idea of how easy it is to configure a spin wheel from scratch. It just takes 10 minutes to do. You can select the background, you can select the font that goes into the title on the top, and also the text that goes into the CTA buttons. You can allow one spin or multiple spins, like Gina mentioned. You can configure how many sectors or parts of the wheel you need, and what kind of icons or what kind of images should go into each of those parts. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of ease. So it allows you to create a spin wheel and push it out to a segment really quickly. Especially if you've got those segments built already, it's not more than 10 minutes. And this is a visual of how the UI looks when you want to configure a trivia. Again, you can see how clean and easy it is to use. You don't have to be a tech wizard to do this. You get to choose the type of questions. We support 4 kinds of questions. We allow you to indicate the correct answer with a different color. And we also let you assign points. How many points do you want to assign to the right answer as well as to a wrong answer? So what that means is, by the time your users are done playing the trivia, Upshot automatically adds up their scores, and it helps you to define what kind of a grade they fall into. So that's and you can assign a reward according to the grade they fall into. So it's pretty easy. It's a very painless process to configure these things in Upshot, and that's why we call it a plug and play engagement and gamification platform. So that's really what we had for all of you. So we are now open for Q&A. I would love to look at any questions if they have come in.
We actually have a really good question that did come in. says, how do you strategize the right gaming strategy for your audience? In your experience, do points, badges, spin wheels, and flash sales work for most, or would you recommend knowing your customers in depth and creating gamification strategies for specific segments? That's an incredibly good question. If you've not started the gamification process, I would recommend testing. You, like the slide earlier, is, you don't do one experiment, and if it doesn't look like a good result, don't kill it. Keep trying different areas. About 3 years ago here at Panini, Upshot came to me and said, we're launching trivia. And I was like, okay, that sounds great, because I know how much trivia nights are popular here in the United States during sporting events. So let's run it, and we'll create the trivia around our product and also sports that we represent. So from 3 years ago to today, I did the math earlier, we have created over 2,800% increase in in the engagement just on the trivia. So it started very low, but we were very consistent and kept learning more of what our customers liked. And so we've increased our trivia engagement over 2,800%. So I would just say, test. And then as you're testing, you will see more of what your customers in depth and the creating of those strategies, because you can also create the segments based on buying segments. So you could, I would probably granularly start with all with all your users, and then gradually start getting more granular based on your user spending habits or their activity in the app. That's something that you will have to test and learn those data points specifically on. So Casey, do you have anything else to kind of feed off that?
Yeah, actually, you've almost answered it totally. I just want to add one point with respect to the question, the part of the question that talks about points, badges, spin wheels, and flash sales. Or would you recommend knowing your customers in depth? I think spin wheels, especially spin wheels, are so universal in their appeal. I'm not too sure about badges or points, because there are some people who may not be attracted towards points because they may not want to be around long enough to accumulate a certain number of points before they can redeem. But spin wheels are so, you can almost think of them as they have got no history. You just get a spin wheel, you play it once, you win. If your luck is good, you win something, and you go ahead and redeem that and use it right away. So there's very less long-term effort that you need to put in to extract value out of spin wheels. And so that's why at least spin wheels are something that, adding to what Gina said, it's applicable to the entire user base. But other aspects like badges, I think we have to get granular. So there's one more question. How long do you think one should run an experiment to test whether the gamification idea is working or not? Again, this is very subjective. If your hypothesis is built strongly to begin with, because I think it all depends upon the quality of hypothesis that you build. So if you're already a numbers person, if you have taken time to go through your analytics and you've studied the behavior of users and you've got enough data points to build a hypothesis, I believe that with very less iterations, you should be able to see results either one way or the other. The challenge is that when you do not have enough data points to form a hypothesis, it may take multiple iterations to find out if it's working for you or not.
Yeah, just keep, the numbers, the data really tells the story. And there could be some months or some weeks that the data might drip a little bit and then go back up. But as long as you have an upward trend, and Upshot's reporting that Casey mentioned earlier, there's a lot of custom reporting, and I really take advantage of the custom reporting that they help build out for me. And they'll also come to me and say, we've seen this trend and show me the metrics. And then we can really look at that story of how our users are really reacting or what they're doing in the app, what type of events that we're capturing. And that's another good thing about Upshot is you can create your own custom events. And when I say events, it's any type of action that user has made on the website. Were they on 3 pages or more? Did they go into the cart and they abandon the cart? So you can really start diving deep into data, and that can be a whole separate webinar in itself.
Yeah.
But just kind of, really trust the data, because, numbers always will tell you. And don't get discouraged if it seems like it dips a little bit and then goes up, because we've gone through it, but we've really, with Upshot's help, been able to really keep the engagement high. And that just comes with a lot of constant and consistency in these gaming campaigns. We run them monthly and several a month. And so the team that I work with are always helping me come up with new ideas and helping me execute them, and also letting me know if there was an issue or if they saw that there wasn't a high engagement. And we'll just kind of go from there and make the decision based on what our goals and hypotheses are.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, Gina, especially about being consistent, because I think if something happens, let's say on a fixed date of every month, and initially people may think it's just something one-off, but if it happens, let's say over 2 months or 3 months, I think the user base also starts to tune themselves to expecting that on that particular day. And so you've got people almost getting into a habit of watching out for the gamifications to come their way.
Yep. And that's very true. Your users will get used to that. They will get excited for the more chances that they have to become on a leaderboard or be entered into a chance to win, or getting the coupons for 30% off the store. You could have a product that's, $30 and get the, $30 to $300 and 30% both ways. They're saving money. Yeah. And you're going to go and refer your site and your app over to other users because you're constantly being consistent and keeping these users engaged.
Right. We also have another really good question. Can any business use gamification? Well, I think absolutely yes, because every business has users. I have seen even HR professionals use gamification for employee engagement, because for them, their employees are their internal customers. And so every time there is a program, whether you are rolling it out for your employees or whether you are doing it for your end customers, that program, as we saw earlier in the slides, is going to succeed only when people show the desired behavior. So that's really the takeaway of this webinar. Every time you start a business, or you are in charge of HR, or you're in charge of the sales team, and you want people to do certain things, you are looking at finding ways to motivate them to do. So my answer is a strong yes. Do you want to add anything, Gina, to that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I kind of got caught up in a chiropractor. I've seen a chiropractor in the past, and his business targeted me last night with some gamifications that they're actually doing physical gamifications in their office, which in March, we have something in college basketball called March Madness. You guys might have heard of that throughout the years, but I will go into his office and he will give me a mini basketball, and I have 3 shots to make a hoop. And if I make a hoop, I get 20% off my next visit. So that is a physical gamification aspect, but they reached out to me via social media. I was targeted on Facebook. And also thinking of more B2B type businesses, or billable businesses. I grew up in a family full of accountants and CPAs, and my father owns his own CPA firm. And I've seen during what we call tax season here in the United States, where our income taxes due and whatnot, that these B2B and B2C small businesses, or if you're selling to another business, you can create any type of gamification, kind of like what the chiropractor did with me, and award them with a chance to enter a pizza party for your employees or some type of discount. So there's many ways that you can include these gamification campaigns and still reach out to them via the apps that you might have. Or if you don't have an app, you can reach out to them via social media or, just different type of machine learning and data targeting. So there's so many ways that you can work around gamification. If it's physical, like a pizza party or the March Madness, you get 20% off. It's endless. It's what your customers and what your business what will work for your customers and your business. And some places even will have wine nights, open wine nights, and that they will do door prizes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we have time for one or two questions. So there's this question: do we have to build all these gamification elements into our app? What's your view on build versus buy? Okay, that's really a good question, because I think this is coming from a perspective of, okay, all of this sounds awesome, but where do we go from here? How do we make this happen if we have an app and we want to implement gamification on that app? That sounds like a big ordeal, having to build out spin wheels, having to build out trivia games, segments. So the answer here is slightly tricky. There are platforms like Upshot which can help you do that if it works for you. If, on the other hand, you would like a lot more control in your own hands, where you get to dictate how exactly the game should look like, or how exactly the wheel should spin, and you want a lot of control, then in that case, it makes sense to build it in-house. If you've got the team and if you've got the talent for it, we know from experience that building games is tricky, it's expensive. Game developers are generally rare to get. So it makes sense if you want to think of using a platform to do these things. That's my opinion, subjectively speaking. But I've seen companies like Duolingo totally avoid the platform route. They went ahead all in. They did it on their own. They've got like a huge team of people who do all this programming in-house. So I think it really depends upon your budgets, your talent pool, the amount of time that you have to launch these things, because some of these can take 6 months or more to build. So I would encourage you to think along those lines and then make the right choice.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you there. And I do see the next question is, what's the best way to get started with gamification? And it also, somebody asked about reducing customer acquisition costs. That won't happen overnight. It will, if it happens overnight, I would love to know your secret. But eventually, one of the things, and this could be a whole nother webinar as well, is it kind of depends on your budget and what you're willing, if you're willing to increase that budget and if you're willing to reduce budgets anywhere. I was able to reduce our paid ad spend based around gamification and search engine optimization. We worked on a lot. So that's kind of a whole broad question that is subjective as well. It's based around what your budget needs are and based around how consistent you are with the gamification and if you find it's working towards your goals. And the next one was, what is the best way to get started with gamification? Is I would probably talk to somebody first at Upshot. They are experts here in the gamification industry. We've had tremendous success with them. You could talk to them about what they could probably come in and do some type of a quote with you, or just walk you through what their practices are and probably help mold your strategy that way. You could also, depending on your budget, kind of take a look and see what your current marketing automation programs might have, because there could be some of those already built out, or maybe you just have to look at, buying the next package of what they offer. So I would first talk to to Casey or somebody at Upshot, and they can help you kind of get started with the best strategy for the gamification.
Yeah, and even if you don't have Upshot or you don't plan on getting Upshot, it's
Right.
absolutely fine. We're not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. If you don't have Upshot, you can actually start doing gamification in really simple ways with your own platforms that you have today. I have seen companies do gamification with as little as a push notification service and putting an expiry date on a coupon. And so you just target a particular segment of people, give them a coupon, and tell them, look here, you've got only 48 hours to redeem it. And once it goes, it's gone. You're not going to get it back. And so you can still play around with some of those psychological factors that I talked about. But the only challenge that you will face in such an approach is that people will begin to see through those things in a while, and then they may not be able to sustain their motivation levels for a long time, because they can understand that even though you are trying to offer them something, the fun factor is not very high. So that is where a platform that can allow you to play around, that gives you lots of options, and that helps you to make things exciting and fun. It goes a long way, and that's really what Upshot is all about.
I've got one more question, and it said, what is your favorite gamification idea at Panini, and why do you like it? What was the impact of the hack you tried? Well, I'm a little partial to trivia. I really love our trivia because I'm a trivia person. And I find that you can be really creative with trivia, as in because I write the trivia questions. Me and one other teammate write the trivia questions. You have to do your fact checking, because we've learned if you don't do your fact checking on trivia, you will be called out. But I really love it because I find that people get real competitive with trivia. But I also really like our opinion polls that we run during American football season, which is usually late summer, late July to Super Bowl, which is in January/February, because they do have weekly games. And so we'll pick an enticing matchup, and we'll see, let's say the New Orleans Saints, which is a really strong team, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is, everybody knows the name Tom Brady. That's where he plays. So those are two really strong teams, and they're going to go head to head with each other. So we'll put out a opinion poll saying, who will win this matchup? We want to hear from you. And so we'll run it from a Thursday night to right before the game starts on Sunday or Saturday. And it gets really interesting, especially if it's a very enticing matchup. We'll see the results of, I think for the Super Bowl that we ran for Kansas City Chiefs versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it was almost a split result where it was 50% was choosing Tampa Bay and 50% was choosing Kansas City Chiefs. So I thought that was really fun. And I can't remember how many users we had, but we had quite a lot, in the thousands of user engagement there. And it was really cool to see our customers and our followers kind of torn there. So, and the hack that you mentioned was really getting in front of people early, with a push notification a few days out saying coming soon, Super Bowl matchup, starting in 2 or 3 hours, coming at 12 p.m. Make sure you play, and then we'll also push it out saying that it is live. Here's your chance to win a prize. And we'll also put in the messaging for those opinion polls. Who will be the Super Bowl 55 champs? Will it be Tampa Bay or will it be Kansas City? And that is more personal, because that hits fans where, of those two teams. And since it was such a huge game this past year with two amazing players, it really helped bring the impact in. So I'm not sure what kind of industry you're in, but if you can think creatively around what excites users, what they get excited to talk about, what they get excited to play. That's why I like trivia and the opinion polls so much. The spin wheel and the card shuffle is great. But of course, that is more of the data of the machine stopping, and randomizing the winners, where this is more of where opinion polls and trivia are more personal, because users love trivia here in the States and they love the matchup. So that's where I find that that's a little more personal. I hope that helped answer your question.
Okay. Gina, we will bring the webinar to a close now, because it's I think it's time. So yep. I hope everybody who's online, had a really useful experience understanding gamification and what it is not, how it works, and you heard Gina share her secrets. I hope Gina's competitors are not watching. Okay. So with that, we are going to bring this to a close. Good day or good night, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you, Gina, for making time to be with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was fun. And I hope that we were able to, help answer a lot of your questions and that you took some valuable information with you all.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to bring this to a close, and that's a goodbye from all of us here.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.